Nebraska, 1902. The American West was a land of brutal fortunes, and no fortune was greater than that of Silas Redmond. A cattle baron carved from granite and ambition, Silas owned 18,000 acres and commanded an empire. Yet, in his vast, echoing 14-room mansion, he was utterly, devastatingly alone. 2 marriages had failed, the first a tender girl named Catherine, who died young and fearful. The second, Margaret, a practical woman who simply could not breathe in his overwhelming shadow. Silas had wealth, power, and prestige, but at 42 he had no heir, no one to justify the decades of brutal work. His search for a solution led him to Council Bluffs, to the dim, desperate hall of Morton's warehouse, where women were sold into practical arrangements. The air was thick with the smell of desperation and the wind off the Missouri River. Silas, wrapped in a coat that spoke of limitless wealth, stood in the shadows, witnessing humanity at its lowest ebb.
Before we dive in, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoy stories like this, be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share it with someone who'd love it too. Number 12. Evelyn Mercer. Tall, late 20s, a strong-boned woman whose eyes were not defeated but watchful, assessing the odds. A widow, capable, yet burdened by debts. Then came the kiss of death. She was barren. The bidding stalled at a miserable $20. The men wanted a broodmare, not a partner. Silas, the man who could buy Omaha, shocked the room. $20. But Evelyn was not like the others. Before the sale could close, she interrupted, her voice cutting through the noise, steady and honest. "I cannot promise you children, sir. If that's what you need most, save your $20. She spoke of her competence, reading, writing, butchering a hog, birthing a calf, but she would not lie about her inability to conceive. Silas stepped forward. He looked past the desperation to the core of unbending honesty. He rejected the transaction of livestock. $1, Silas declared, not because you're worth less than 20, Mrs. Mercer, but because I won't have anyone believe I purchased you like livestock. $1 makes this exactly what it is, a contract between 2 practical people, a marriage of honesty and partnership, nothing more, nothing less. Evelyn, seeing a desperate equal, accepted. They shook hands like businessmen, a transaction that became a destiny.
The dust of Council Bluffs faded as the carriage carried them into the Nebraska night. They spoke without pretense. Evelyn asked about the dead wives, Catherine, who cried for her mother, Margaret, who ran from the shadow. Am I replacing Catherine or Margaret? Because I can't be a girl who cries for her mother, and I won't be a woman who suffocates in anyone's shadow. Silas offered only the truth. He sought a practical union. She demanded honest work for honest compensation and respect for competence. They shook hands a second time. You can call me Silas. Evelyn, I know. I was listening. They arrived at the Redmond house at dawn, a 3-story monument to ambition, built for a family, yet containing only echoes. Evelyn, with her single carpetbag, stepped out onto the gravel and met the sharp, assessing gaze of Mrs. Chen, the housekeeper. Silas explained the house rules, the parlor, the dining room, his off-limits office, and the bedrooms, the master suite at the east wing, and the blue room for Evelyn at the opposite end of the hall. Silas explained the house rules, the parlor, the dining room, his off-limits office, and the bedrooms, the master suite at the east wing, and the blue room for Evelyn at the opposite end of the hall. Silas explained the house rules, the parlor, the dining room, his off-limits office, and the bedrooms, the master suite at the east wing, and the blue room for Evelyn at the opposite end of the hall. Silas explained the house rules, the parlor, the dining room, his off-limits office, and the bedrooms, the master suite at the east wing, and the blue room for Evelyn at the opposite end of the hall. That's intentional. I won't force myself on you, Evelyn. When and if we consummate this marriage, it'll be because we've both decided it's appropriate. Evelyn met his gaze, setting her bag down. We want children, Silas. That requires consummation. Putting me at the opposite end of the house seems counterproductive. I am not a piece of china. If you want heirs, at some point, you'll need to stop being quite so respectful. Before the legal documents were even signed, Evelyn took command. She audited the kitchen, fired the lazy cook, Martha, and installed a quick-witted replacement, Eliza. She reorganized the haphazard household accounts. Within 24 hours, the atmosphere of the house, though still cold, was suddenly efficient. She had gained the grudging, silent approval of Mrs. Chen, proving she was worthy of more than a single dollar. The first weeks were a quiet revolution. Evelyn wasn't just in the house, she ran it with the discipline of a field marshal. She slashed waste, introduced modern accounting, and even began filing Silas's scattered business correspondence. Silas, initially annoyed by the disruption, found his life becoming simpler, his finances clearer. He was observing a new force, a partner who provided value beyond his expectations. The ranch foreman, Dutch Kellerman, remained skeptical. He challenged Evelyn's claim of experience in animal husbandry. Silas, sensing an opportunity to truly test his $1 investment, challenged her to take over the small, struggling horse program on the far edge of the property. Evelyn accepted, moving temporarily to a remote cabin, trading her silk dress for rough denim. This was her proving ground. Midway through her endeavor, fate intervened. A sudden, vicious winter storm, followed by an aggressive outbreak of the blackleg disease among the prize cattle, struck while Silas was away on a crucial trip. Dutch and the men panicked. Evelyn took command. She ordered the quarantine of the sick, led a dangerous nighttime supply run for emergency serums, and personally worked for 72 hours straight, birthing an endangered calf that was critical to Silas's breeding lines. She was covered in mud, exhausted, but the herd was saved. Silas returned to find the crisis handled, the ranch saved, and Evelyn standing tall, smelling of antiseptic and cattle. Dutch, his eyes shining with respect, confirmed her actions. Silas looked at the woman who had saved his future and realized his $1 had bought him a force of nature. He apologized for testing her, a moment of profound vulnerability for the hard-bitten cattle baron. The transaction was over. The partnership of mutual respect had begun. Part 3. The heir and the hope. The consummation. The respect solidified their union. Silas informed Evelyn that the men now called her Mrs. Redmond without irony. He formally asked her to move from the distant blue room into the master suite. It was a proposal not of romance, but of unity, a declaration of her equal status to the world. He reaffirmed his greatest need, a son, an heir to secure the legacy. Evelyn, now invested in the empire she helped save, agreed. Their first night together was grounded in duty, weighted by the pressure of her barren history. They spoke quietly of the old hurts, Henry Mercer's drinking, Catherine's tragic death. The act was one of partnership, two survivors sharing a hopeful burden. In the silence that followed, a deeper connection was forged, built on shared experience and mutual understanding, not illusion. Weeks turned into a quiet, strained vigil. Evelyn, in the meantime, used her skill for accounts to delve deep into the ranch's documents. She uncovered a small, critical legal loophole concerning a disputed tract of land, a vital piece of information. Then, the weight of the silence lifted. The doctor's diagnosis, the words of the jeering men, proved to be wrong. Evelyn was pregnant. When Evelyn told Silas, the man who never cried was overwhelmed. Joy flooded him, instantly followed by the terrifying memory of Catherine's death. He realized he didn't just fear losing the heir, he feared losing Evelyn. In that moment, he admitted that his need for her had surpassed his need for his legacy. He finally saw his own coldness thaw. The legal threat. The celebration was cut short by danger. The discovery Evelyn made, the contested land tract, had been noticed by his powerful rival, Mr. Blackwood. Blackwood launched a legal war, threatening to seize the land and cripple the Redmond ranch. He openly exploited Silas's personal life, taunting him with the risk to his pregnant wife and their unborn heir. Silas wanted to fight with the brutal force that had built his fortune. Evelyn stopped him. "You bought my mind, Silas, not just my body," she insisted. Using her superior accounting skills, her meticulous notes from the Blue Room, and the loophole she had identified, she exposed a critical flaw in Blackwood's ownership claim, a chain of title error that was irrefutable. Evelyn, the $1 widow, saved the Redmond Empire. Blackwood was ruined, and the land was secured. The dynasty was born. Evelyn delivered not one child, but twins, a healthy boy and a girl. Silas Redmond, the isolated cattle baron, was now a father and a devoted husband. The $1 transaction purchased a partner who secured a fortune, saved an empire, and bore him 7 children in the years that followed. Silas looked down at Evelyn, her hand rough and firm in his, acknowledging an equal. The carriage ride had ended, but the journey of their partnership was just beginning. The dollar was just the beginning. The two people who had nothing to lose had found everything to gain, proving that the foundation of every great partnership is not wealth or romance, but honest desperation. And so began the $1 Dynasty.